Hi, you are watching SightsIn Plus and this is Romesh Shivastu. Please do subscribe the channel for the HR news, for HR updates and conversation with top notch CHROs. Today we are going to discuss about the reward and recognition strategy. Actually, reward and recognition programs are not just designed to engage the employees. The purpose is little broader, and the purpose is to make employees better people, to make them feel motivated, and to make them feel fulfilled. To discuss in detail what are the important pillars of a successful reward and recognition strategy and how to craft a successful and purposeful reward and recognition program. Today we have two senior HR leaders. Let me introduce Mr. Sushil Baveja. He is the Chief Human Resource Officer at Jindal Stainless, and Mr. Navneet Mukund is a Project Director HR Consulting Asia at Mercer. Mr. Sushil, I would like to come to you first, and I would like to understand that what are the important pillars of the reward and recognition strategy.
Thanks, Ramesh, for having me on this platform. I think it's a very, very relevant subject that you've chosen for this particular discussion. I think R&R goes a long way in terms of driving motivation in an organization, driving engagement of your employees, and more importantly, in terms of ensuring a strong rational commitment, emotional commitment, driving discretionary effort, to say the least. So I think it's something which has to be a very integral part of any HR strategy. Now, coming to your point about what are the pillars, I would say the pillars here would include the fact that one has to make sure that this is completely aligned to the business goals and objectives. It should be completely aligned to the values and beliefs of the organization. The behaviors that we wish to drive in the organization, so as to create a very positive work culture. It should be another important pillar is that it should be very fair. It should be a process, a scheme which is objective, it is transparent. There's no point in having a program or a scheme which is not fair, objective. So that actually builds credibility of the whole scheme and the program. And I would say another important thing is that it should have a very strong leadership buy-in, a strong leadership commitment, not just on paper, but it has to be visible as well. And it should be something sustainable as a way of life. It is not like you just do it as a one-off event and that's the end of the story. It is something which should actually stay as an integral part of the day-to-day work life of an organization. And that's what I would say at this stage.
Navneet, I would like to your initial comments on this. And second, I would like to understand that actually, if you design a R&R policy and if it is not meeting to employees' expectations, so that may also backfire sometime. So how we can involve the employees in this process? We can take the inputs from them, and if we design and then after implement, so that will be the successful policy, successful R&R program. Your comments, Navneet, please.
Thank you, Ramesh, first of all, for inviting me with Mr. Baveja. It's a very relevant topic. Recently wrote also an article for your magazine. So thank you so much for that opportunity as well. And because I recently thought about it and wrote an article, so it is kind of fresh in my mind what I thought about it maybe last month. R&R, first of all, to club reward and recognition together is a bit difficult, right? While it is like a buzzword and companies say it R&R, but then when I talk about rewards, reward also has a connotation of total rewards. And when you say total rewards, you are often talking about the base pay, variable pay, benefits, right? But in R&R, the reward takes the name of maybe more awards than rewards, right? So it's called R&R, but it is more like award. So Employee of the Month award, Employee of the Quarter award, and of course these are the initial thoughts. So it's sometimes interchangeably used, which is not the intention. And I agree with all the pillars that Mr. Baveja mentioned, right? Like leadership buy-in and the emotional connect, and just for going that extra mile, it is to be important, and it has to be aligned with values and beliefs of the company. Um, and the most important thing is that whether you are doing a program like this, a policy like this, just because you want to have part of your HR budget into one item in budgeting, which is called R&R, right? For example, you have leadership development. You have your normal budget of compensation and benefits, which could be 10% of your revenue, 10% of your cost, or even 50% of your cost, depending on industry, right? So that is a very large budget already, which is taking the mind space of your CFOs and CHROs and CEOs, right? So there's a large space. And then you have other items like travel and training and development and R&R. So it becomes relegated to one of the items, one of the boxes that you have to check, right, as part of people office agenda, right? People and culture agenda. I think and 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 the overarching thing about reward and recognition is not these programs that you do. Anything that you do formally, right? Sometimes it may be counterintuitive, even counterproductive. Doing formally, because see, Mr. Baveja mentioned about transparency and how employee perceive it, right? So how employee perceive it, how do you see that? By your internal surveys or surveys at the time of exit interviews or social media platforms or Glassdoor, right? So the real pulse of the organization is not your best employees to work for survey alone. There are other many platforms where you can engage this survey. So those things are very important to add that nuance of getting the real pulse of the employees. Yeah. So initial thoughts, actually, Ramesh.
Sushil, as Navneet said, that reward or award, that is interchangeable here somehow. If you take it the reward, because we also understand as a reward and recognition strategy. So, right now we are also talking about lots of, wellness. We are talking about the well-being part. We are talking about the work-life balance. So wellness, not just the physical wellness. We are also talking about some financial equipment, financial well-being part. So, how do you see these kind of practices at your Jindal Stainless?
So, this I would say is a very profound question. I mean, I don't see many people asking about wellness in the context of an R&R strategy. But you very nicely actually woven that into this. And I was also thinking when you were asking me about it, because I feel that any initiative that an organization takes towards wellness is in a way acknowledging the employee as a human as well. So what are you doing when you are actually doing wellness? You are basically conveying a very loud message that we care for you. We appreciate you as a human. We appreciate you not just as an employee, but as a whole human being. And we are there to support you in terms of your professional requirements, in terms of your emotional requirements, in terms of your financial wellness requirements. And it's a big message, I would say, that goes out to the employees. Coming to Jindal Stainless here, so we actually follow this particular philosophy very strongly. So we have a very well articulated strategy towards rewards, recognitions, appreciation, and all of that is there. But also at the same time, on the wellness side in particular, I would say that something that we do, which is very, 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 very unique and different, is that we conduct weekly spiritual sessions for our employees using the Brahma Kumaris, actually the school of thought. So every Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 10:40 a.m., there is actually a broadcast. There is an actual interactive session between us, between a Brahma Kumari spiritual teacher and our employees, and it is live all through, and it happens every Tuesday, where there is a focus on how do you build spiritual wellness, how do you become a good person, how do you be good being, so to say. And I think that's a very ample demonstration of the fact that we as an employer care of an employee on a very holistic level, not just in terms of some tangible, or monetary reward and recognition programs.
Navneet, I think if we also focus on this recognition part, so recognition is also not one-time practice. It is an ongoing process, and that should be also the part of culture of the organization. If you can share a couple of ideas how to give the employee recognition, so that would be, I think, great. How we can, keep it, how we can make it the part of organization culture.
Yeah. So again, we have to all the listeners, of course, in HR, we have to be aware as to at the different stage of a life cycle of any employee, be his age, his family status, the things that motivate him, the things that he or she value will be different, right? So try to bucketize your employees in different avatars, right? So okay, fresh out of college, not married, uh, was more interested in his passion and weekend getaways and gymming, right? So it's a different avatar. Then there is a different avatar for somebody who's a middle manager, just married, right, with one kids or two kids. And then you could have a third avatar of somebody who's in 50s, maybe close to early retirement or retirement, right? So and for all of these employees, how consistent you are in terms of how you want to kind of recognize them, right, is different. For example, uh, people who are more in the younger category, right, they are always hooked to social media, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, right? So if you use a kudos feature in LinkedIn, maybe that employee will feel nice about it, right? So you are publicly trying to acknowledge, because he's in that generation, he's in that category, that avatar, that he will get bumped up by way of public recognition, right? But other than that, recognizing even in a platform without having a formal certification or a trophy, right? If you recognize people for their good work, day in, day out, both in-person meetings, but also in group meetings, right? If you put people on the spotlight, and congratulate, uh, all of these are very important, right? These go a long way. Of course, public recognition is good, but otherwise also to acknowledge somebody's contribution, in a team meeting also is very good. Even you don't have to give a certificate for that, right? But somehow, depending on the temperament of the manager, it changes from person to person, right? And sometimes it is underutilized or underused. So these are very powerful tools that we have. You don't have to have a policy called pat on the back. You should actually pat on the back all the time, say thank you, right, to your employees who are working. Even if they are working at meet expectation level, you must thank them, right? Because you don't have to have rock stars, top 20% contributors, because your ship is actually, managed by all the people, right? Not only the top people. So do not try to use the same people for chairman's award, quarter of employee of the quarter award, employee of the annual award, value, behavior award. So you don't want to see that person in all these awards, right? You try to genuinely find how you can, award other people, recognize other people throughout the year. So that consistency has to be there, depending on the avatar of the employee.
You would like to add something new?
I completely agree to and completely endorse whatever that he said. It should not be reduced to an event. It should actually be an integral part of day-to-day work life. I think what is important is that we must train our managers to have appreciative conversations with employees. Typically, our conversations are very focused on outcomes and stuff like that, and we don't we are a little conservative in terms of appreciating people. And it is not necessary, as he said, that you have to all the time give out some big rewards. Even a small thank you, even a small well done, even a pat on the back is good enough. It basically is a message that we appreciate you, we acknowledge you've done something that needs appreciation. And these things should be real time. The more real time an appreciation is, the more impact, it makes. If you do it later, 1 month later, 2 months later, I think that has a very different kind of an impact. I mean, if I've done a good job today, and if I'm actually, appreciated today in a meeting itself, I think it will actually help me, achieve something much more superior the next day itself. So it has to be, an integral part of the culture. So these conversations are extremely important. Appreciative conversations, and managers really need to be trained to, and they need to be made to realize that this is extremely important in terms of driving motivation of people.
Navneet, as I was talking earlier as well, that personalization of the rewards, that is also very important. What is the need of an individual, the need of an employee, that is also keep in mind always. Maybe someone is looking for the leave and we are offering the cash, so that is not going to work. So how we can personalize the reward policies?
Yeah, so and very good question, and it is again goes back to the topic of the other reward in R&R and not what has actually been relegated to award mode. So you would have heard of things like a cafeteria pay package, right? And sometimes cafeteria pay package is again just make your structure a bit flexible and just get into the bandwagon of what other employers are doing, right? And call it a cafeteria pay plan. But if you really want to make it flexible, and you have to do that extra mile and make your package so flexible that suppose I don't want to take insurance at all, right? You are forcing an insurance on me. Suppose my spouse is also working and she already has an insurance in the other company, then maybe I can save that money and take a gym membership, right? So depending on my motivations and my value systems and what I value more in that tenure of the company that is deciding my rewards, whether I value that or not, right? So other than the cash part, your benefits part, and for example, your leave also. Many employees talk about leave donation and donating leave between employees, but because of the legal complexities and financial and actuarial problem and how a senior employee can donate leave to a junior employee and what will happen to the earned leave value of these things, because of minor hiccups, sometimes we take a backseat and we think that the value that we will derive from such benefits is not that much, because there are not many avenues to make it flexible for the employee, right? You have to give minimum cash, otherwise you will not be competitive and nobody will work for you, right? So you want people to work for you. You want to be competitive in cash. You cannot say that I pay at 25th percentile of the market in cash, but my benefits is like world class. Nobody will join you. So you still have to pay 50th percentile or maybe slightly lesser depending on the profile of the candidate. And then in benefits, you have to be more innovative and more attractive. And like I told you, if you have a cafeteria pay plan, people will take it differently. For example, even things like flexibility. If I'm newly married and if I have, say, small kids, I will value flexibility more. I'm not saying that you can monetize the flexibility. You cannot monetize, put a monetary value to flexibility. But can I select flexibility based on my life stage, right? I am newly married. I have a small kid. I want more flexibility. Okay, now I am in 50s. I don't care about flexibility. I can come to office at 8 o'clock every day and leave at 8 o'clock every day, right? I don't care about flexibility. Actually, I want to go to office more. I don't want to be at home, right? I want the peace of the office and work with the colleagues and get the energy from that setup. So when I'm 50, I don't value that flexibility. I'm okay to come to office, right? I value things like status and a good designation, a bigger office. Of course, all these, things which are more evident to other employees as well, right? So how you can motivate me is definitely dependent on my life stage and my motivation, right? Like very good example Mr. Baveja gave of, that spiritual Tuesdays that he has, right? And if people really value it, right, they can say, okay, there are many multiple online videos. I can, hear them online videos also. But to instill that discipline that everybody together has to do it on Tuesday, 10 o'clock, that is something awesome, right? Because then sometimes you go to your temple, even if you're atheist, because your mom is going or your father is going, right? But still you have some takeaways. You cannot come out feeling angry about it, right? You have some takeaways. So similarly, instilling that culture, these things are important to things that cannot be replicated. Cash compensation, variable pay structure, LTI plan, I can replicate any day, right? But if I have an innovative benefit, if I have a cafeteria pay plan, which is truly cafeteria, which is truly as per my need, right? Whether I want day off, I want more leaves. Many companies also give unlimited leaves, right? Unlimited leaves. Unlimited leaves cannot be earned, but you can actually take unlimited leaves, right? So it is a difficult concept to implement, and sometimes if the trust factor is not there and you cannot implement it, I will understand, but we should try to explore all these things available, and then some more, right? Be more innovative about these things that you try to provide to different employees at different life stages.
Sushil, Jindal is also multi-locational. They are having the various plants. So when you are designing such policies, so diversity and geographical demographic that also plays an important role. Also, you keep in mind these factors. So how do you design these policies for the employees?
When we first designed this policy, we actually had conducted leadership engagement. We engaged with the employees, conducted focus group discussions to understand, what are their motivational drivers, what actually, makes them happy, what is it that they would like to be rewarded and appreciated for. What should be the criteria that we should use in terms of designing the scheme. And once we actually took all of that and then actually designed and delivered the scheme, it created a fair amount of acceptance. But also what is important is that we have to make sure that a scheme that you designed a year back may not be relevant in today's context, because every scheme has a certain context to it. So what we have done now, in fact, just 2 weeks back, we conducted a focus group discussion in all our 3 locations, went back to the teams to understand how effective has the R&R program been. What are the areas you feel we could actually possibly improve and strengthen? What is their feedback about it? And we've created a small, cross-functional team for that particular purpose, which is now revisiting the complete design and the construct of the program in this whole thing. One thing more which I should tell you about R&R here is, and when I said about the commitment of the top leadership, our managing director personally champions reward and recognition out here. Mr. Abhyuday Jindal is personally present at each R&R event that happens here at the Delhi office. He is personally there to give awards. He's personally there to encourage employees. And that makes a huge amount of difference actually to the employees' motivation and morale. So it is not just like a normal, scheme. It's actually something which is completely patronized by the person at the highest level in the organization. And at all locations, we conduct these programs as per our calendar. There has to be those 4 events. But apart from that, we have to also, as you were asking, Navneet, about it, we also try to make sure that unique contributions of individuals are also somehow appreciated and recognized on a regular basis. That is also extremely important, which goes beyond the normal scheme and the policy of R&R. And I think the top leadership commitment makes a huge amount of difference to the whole success of the R&R program.
Some very great points highlighted by you. Navneet, when we talk about the engagement part, so definitely R&R strategy, always help to engage the employees. So how we can make it the culture of the organization? How this can engage more people? This can engage the employees in the organization.
Yeah, it is the holy grail actually. I mean, if you can, get the employee engaged, everything will work out, right? But it is the basic actually. If you come to think about it, is the basic. Engagement means what? Engagement means that you like to go to office, you like the work that you applied for, were hired for, right? Or hiring or promotion, right? So you like the work, you think that you are well paid, right? So again, remember that payment is only hygiene. Okay, if I give you a 75th percentile salary, you will get extra happy maybe for a quarter. After that, it will wear off, right? So you feel that you are fairly paid. It doesn't have to be the feeling that you are top of the market. You are fairly paid for the role that you are doing, for the qualifications that you have. You like the job that you are doing. Your manager appreciates you for your contribution, right? Because even if you're too experienced and too qualified in the work that you are doing, you will not be engaged. Engagement doesn't mean that it should be easy. It should be somewhat challenging. I think I tried to summarize it in the article also. So somewhat challenging, but not overwhelming. Feeling that you are appreciated and you are promoted, so you also want to be recognized. So that is the most powerful tool for recognition, right? The old school of bigger bonus and bigger job, right? Because if you're really recognized for what you are doing on the job, right, for any of including your value systems, and if you're aligned or if you're a value champion, ultimately it will reflect on your career path in the company. If you are missed out for plum opportunities, right? Sometimes you get a quarterly award or a monthly award, an annual award. But if you are missed out on important opportunities that you wanted, which you think you are ready for, nobody has had a conversation with you. See, because 10% employees will get promoted and 90% should not get demotivated about it, right? It doesn't mean that you can't distinguish between performance. You have to distinguish. So how do you walk that line that people are not cynical about it? People actually appreciate. In fact, the person who's getting promoted, how nice it will be that everybody expected his promotion or her promotion, right? And most people expected, right? So everybody should see it coming. It should not be a surprise in your performance management system. When the rating is given in March, it should not come as a surprise to the employee. Oh, I was thinking that I'm the topmost contributor. You are telling me I meet expectation. It means that you don't want to promote me in this year or next year, right? So to be able to anticipate and make sure that you are transparent about somebody's performance, managers understand the employee. Your work is challenging enough. Your work is too easy, you will not be engaged. Even you might, it's not necessary that you will do it better than others, right? If it is not challenging enough, it has to be slightly challenging. It should not be overwhelming as well. You have all the tools, you have all the support that you need. You feel good about the company, right? You feel good about the company. So for example, if I am doing some CSR program in my neighborhood locality, some school or some hospital, I should not be cynical about it. If most people are cynical about it and you feel that it is just a photo op, then you have lost the plot, right? Employees should actually see that there is a sense in the CSR that you are doing, and then you feel nice about it. You want to contribute, just not because somebody is asking you to. So at the end of the day, old school Ramesh, okay, being valued, being recognized by way of good salary increase, good bonus. Don't forget that part, because that is the basic, right? Promotion at the right time, and whether you are at the right level, you are doing the right job, that you are capable of, right? And having honest conversation about it. So that is the holy grail.
Sushil, any of your final comments as a concluding remark?
Well, I would say that what I said earlier, I think reward and recognition goes a long way in driving motivation, in driving engagement, and just building on what Navneet just said. In my view, when we talk about engagement, we are actually talking about a rational commitment of an employee. We're talking about an emotional commitment of an employee. And what does engagement actually mean to an organization? It means discretionary effort of an employee. It means intent to stay of an employee. You can expect sustainable contribution coming in from an employee. So I feel that R&R is a big driver in terms of driving motivation, in terms of institutionalizing behaviors that actually are needed to drive business performance and outcomes. in terms of creating a culture which is healthy, which is positive, which is much more enabling. So I would say that this is something an indispensable part of any talent strategy.
Navneet, any of your quick comments? We have, this time is running out. So, in 1 minute, if you can share any of quick comments, final comments.
Yeah, definitely. So it's if done right, this is some, I say, very important lever. Engagement will increase your performance. It will increase your productivity. Ultimately, it will increase your revenue and bottom line as well, right? So everything is financial at the end of the day. What is in it for the shareholders, for the return, right? If employees are engaged, so like Mr. Baveja said, they'll stay longer. They will be stickier. They will want to do their job better. They will put in that extra effort, extra mile, right? And then that will result. So you get more bang for the bucks. So you pay one employee, but you get the effort of 1.1 employee, 1.2 employees, right? And you get very high quality work. They want to stay with you, so you have very good, a net promoter score from the employee side. I'm saying, right? And all these things should reflect everywhere, even after the employee has left you, right? He should not be saying unpleasant things about your company in Glassdoor or LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, right? So they should always feel happy about having worked for your company and having left your company in good grace and with honor and wanting to come back. We call them boomerang employees, right? So employees should leave wanting always to come back as well. So if he had been engaged, he or she had been engaged, he will always want to come back, in that company.
Right. So thank you so much, Sushil and Navneet, for joining the conversation and sharing your wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much.